Hi everyone, my name's Michelle Coughlin. I'm the Community Planning Manager for Aberdeen City Council. I'm joined by Jade Layden this morning, and I'll let Jade introduce herself a bit later on. This is a short 1-hour session for you today. It's intended to give you an introduction to the City's Community Planning Partnership, who we are and how we work together to make improvements for the whole city. I'm going to take you through a few slides on that, and I'm going to hand over to Jade, who will then talk to you about how you can get involved through your local community. Now, I'm not sure if you're all aware of what Community Planning Aberdeen is. It's the name of our local community planning partnership. We've got 32 community planning partnerships in Scotland. Every local authority area has one, and this was a formal requirement of the 2015 Community Empowerment Scotland Act. The Act requires statutory community planning partners to work together to improve outcomes for communities. Now, members of Community Planning Aberdeen are a mixture of statutory and also some non-statutory partner organisations. We've got 14 member organisations in total that sit on our board and our management group. So those are our decision-making groups within the partnership. 9 of the partners are identified as statutory in the legislation, and those are the Council, working together with the Health and Social Care Partnership, NHS Grampian, the local college, Police Scotland, Skills Development Scotland, Scottish Enterprise, Scottish Fire and Rescue Services, and our local transport partnership, Nestrans. We've also elected locally another 5 partners that we believe have a key role to make in supporting improvement of outcomes for the City of Aberdeen. So we have ACVO, who is our third sector interface. We've got the Aberdeen Civic Forum, the 2 universities, and we've also got the Active Aberdeen Partnership. Now, those are the member organisations that are sitting, as I say, on our decision-making groups, but there are many organisations that work with the Community Planning Partnership to take forward our improvement work, and so that number is a lot larger. So in terms of the partnership, the common goal that binds us together is our 10-year shared vision of Aberdeen as a place where all people can prosper. And we set that out in our local outcome improvement plan, which breaks down that vision into SMART aims, which we are committed to working together to achieve. The local outcome improvement plan is very, very important as it sets the priorities for the partnership, to ensure that we're all working in tandem together to achieve these key priority improvement areas, and that we're all allocating resource in the furtherance of those priority areas. The LOIP, as it's known, it was first developed in 2016, and so we're now halfway through the 10-year plan, although it has been refreshed twice since we first developed it. Now, central theme across the whole plan is that we are addressing the inequalities that exist across the city in terms of the economy, education, and the health and well-being of people, which will ultimately improve outcomes for the whole city. So we recognise that not everyone has the same opportunities to thrive in the city, and that's what this plan is all about. Now, you'll appreciate that making Aberdeen a place where all people can prosper, taking into account these current inequalities, means tackling issues that have been long-standing, stubborn, and interconnected. So some real complex issues that we're needing to deal with there. And therefore, there's a lot in the LOIP. To give it some structure, we've identified 3 themes in the LOIP. That's economy, people, and place. And within those themes, we've identified 15 stretch outcomes. And those are our high-level priorities for improvement in the LOIP under those themes. And then we further break that down again into improvement projects that we can take forward to tackle these high-level priorities. So we have 75 improvement project aims in the LOIP, and these are the projects that we believe will make the difference, and that the cumulative effect of those will be the achievement of our 15 stretch outcomes, and ultimately the achievement of our 10-year vision. Now I'm going to give you a very high-level summary of the LOIP through the following slides, just to give you an idea of the diverse issues we're seeking to address and improve. So under economy theme, we have our 3 stretch outcomes. Those are that no one will suffer due to poverty, 400 unemployed people supported into fair work, and 500 people skilled and reskilled. So these are our priority aims to achieve by 2026, the end of this plan. So in terms of the improvement projects that we'll take forward to make that happen, we have a focus, of course, following the pandemic, the increase in poverty due to the challenging situation we've been in. We have projects that are aimed to alleviate that immediate suffering of people in the city. So there are various ways that we can support people during this time to ensure that they've got access to the food that they need, income, housing, and fuel. And those are our kind of priority issues to ensure that people are not suffering due to poverty. We've got some data that tells us over the last few years that there has been a decrease in the number of people through our City Voice survey that have been worried about not having enough food to eat. So whilst that decrease has happened, the last data was recorded just before the pandemic, so we expect to see an increase in that again. Our other areas of improvement are very much about supporting the labour market to recover, helping support people get back into jobs. Obviously with the furlough situation, that had a big impact on the city. And we know that that's had the biggest impact on our children and young people, because it's really kind of disrupted their progression. So a large focus in the LOIP is around getting people back into work, supporting them to do that, and offering modern and graduate apprenticeships to our young people. We've also got a focus on working in our most disadvantaged communities, where we know that we already have inequalities of opportunity to get into employment there. So doing more to support those vulnerable groups of people. We recognise that digital skills is a key requirement for the future of the workforce, so you'll see that prioritisation in the LOIP, where we're trying to support people to upskill in that area. But certainly upskilling in all areas that will support people to get into the economy of Aberdeen is a priority in the LOIP. And our final kind of improvement activity area is, once people get into work, making sure that they are getting a good and fair wage. And for us within Aberdeen, that means getting people into living wage employment. So there's a lot of work that we're doing to encourage employers to offer that additional kind of minimum wage for people across the city. Under our children and young people theme, which is a section of our people theme, we have 6 stretch outcomes. So there's a lot in there because it's a huge priority to help children and young people. They're obviously our future, and we want to make sure that they have the best start in life, the best opportunities to thrive and succeed as they go on throughout their life. So we've got lots of improvement activity around children and young people. As I say, starting right at the beginning, having that best start in life. We have seen through our data, which there is a bit of a lag on it, so this isn't the most up to date, but the trend shows that there has been a decrease in the percentage of children meeting their developmental milestones. So a huge priority within LOIP is to ensure that children are meeting those, that families are getting the support to be able to support their children to thrive. So lots of support for parents and families. Again, a focus on vulnerable children where we're seeing that they perhaps don't have the same environment where they can thrive and meet their developmental milestones. Just in general, throughout the children and young people, a theme of ensuring that children and young people get the right support at the right time, and that is also extended to children and young people's families. Now, through the pandemic, we've seen a huge increase in children's mental health and well-being issues, and so therefore a priority for us has been to increase their support, especially around mental health and well-being. So through the pandemic, we did see data that showed that there seemed to be an increase in young people having an eating disorder. So really trying to open up that access to resource and support for people, either in person through the FitLike hubs, or also being able to access these resources digitally and online, which we know that children, young people are very au fait with being able to access this sort of material. So making sure we provide it online for them. And I think also for those children and young people that have perhaps got themselves into a bit of bother with antisocial behaviour, just trying to offer them alternatives to just keep them not entertained but supported in the community. So during the pandemic, obviously we saw different pockets of in some cases an increase in antisocial behaviour, and in others we saw a reduction. So just really making sure that we've got things for our young people to do and to try and divert them from any kind of difficult behaviour in the future. And then finally, all of our improvement activity will hopefully support us to attain child-friendly city status from UNICEF, which is an accreditation we're going for at the moment, but we really need to ensure that and do ensure that the children and young people are at the heart of everything that we do. Okay, so under still the people theme, we have our adult stretch outcomes. So this is how we're supporting more vulnerable adults across the city. A focus here on really supporting our most vulnerable members of society. So we've got a stretch outcome there about ensuring that fewer people are subject to a court conviction or that they're reconvicted. So really just trying to keep them away from the justice system and support them to not get into that situation. We've also got a stretch outcome around healthy life expectancy. So this is about people living in good health for longer. Again, our data shows that we have decreased healthy life expectancy over the last few years. So we've got an aim to try and get that back up. Obviously, COVID has certainly not helped with that situation. So a great focus on supporting our communities to feel healthy and well. And that means tackling some of the issues which again have been exacerbated through the pandemic. We know that there has been an increase in harmful levels of drinking and drug-related deaths during this time. So very much a priority to work with those vulnerable groups to support them to do well. And that you can see through our various improvement projects. So again, this is the data that I was referring to, that you can see that we've had that kind of increase in reconvictions, we've had the decrease in life expectancy, and also the increase in drug-related deaths. So very important that we're keeping an eye on the data, because that will really tell us whether the changes that we are making are having an impact. And our improvement activity to achieve that is, again, supporting people to engage with the services that we're already offering, but do people know about them? Do they feel able to access them? So a lot of work to support them to do that. In terms of crime, we do see some themes and priority areas for improvement across the city in terms of hate crimes and will for fire. So we've got some projects specifically targeted at those crimes that we can see happening. And also another one exacerbated during the pandemic was, of course, domestic abuse. So that's come forward as a priority in this refreshed LOIP. And I think just generally it's about encouraging healthier lifestyles, and a lot of our issues can be as a result of loneliness and social isolation in society. So whilst we're taking some of these targeted approaches to known issues, there's just a general attempt to help people feel more connected and more informed about how they can lead a healthy lifestyle. And our last theme in the LOIP is our place theme. Again, we've got 3 stretch outcomes under place, and those are about addressing climate change, trying to increase active travel through people walking and cycling, and in general, tackling the nature crisis. We've understood how important the natural environment of the city is to us in maintaining our health and well-being. So that is a new priority within the local outcome improvement plan. And again, just to give you a flavour of some of the improvement activity that we're taking forward. To do that, we've seen an increase in cycling and walking within the city during the pandemic. That's not come through to our official stats yet, but we've got that feedback from the community. So it's how we can build on the additional exercise that people have been taking through the pandemic to ensure that we sustain that in the future, which obviously is a benefit to the environment as well as to us ourselves. And we've also got data that shows we have been able to reduce our CO2 emissions across the city, but we've got ambitious targets for that going forward. So how will we do it? Well, this is very much about hearts and minds. This is about changing people's behaviours. So a lot of our improvement activity in the place section is about working with communities, working with organisations to get their buy-in to what we're trying to do and gain their support for taking forward some of these changes in society. It's a very run through of the LOIP, and I'm going to give you a very run through of the structure that will take that forward. So I've talked about what we're trying to achieve, and this slide shows you who's going to achieve it or how we're organised to achieve it. So I mentioned before when I was showing you the organisations member to the Community Planning Partnership, I mentioned the board and the management group. And they have an overview of the partnership, but we've got lots of subgroups that then take forward each of those improvement activities and projects that I've just talked you through. So we've got 2 under the economy section of the LOIP, taking forward those improvement activities. So our anti-poverty group, again, focusing on the here and now, how do we support people suffering due to poverty? And then our Aberdeen Prospers group is more of a longer term group, looking at how we prevent people getting into poverty in the first place, making sure that we are enabling people to have access to good employment opportunities and having access to digital skills and other skills that will support them in their life. We've also got under the people section, obviously there was a lot of improvement activity in there, so it won't surprise you that we've got 4 groups to take that forward. So we've got our Children's Services Board, our Community Justice Group, we've got our Resilient, Included and Supported Group, and that's looking at the kind of healthy life expectancy improvement projects, and then our Alcohol and Drugs Partnership. And then finally, we've got our Sustainable City Outcome Improvement Group, focusing on those place projects. So it's all quite neatly sectioned off, and we've got various professionals across all these partner organisations on those groups, as well as community members through the Civic Forum. So that's them just enlarged there. And within the centre of that structure, we've also got our community groups. Now, we do encourage communities to be part of our thematic groups that I've just run through there, but I think community members can also tend to want to form part of their own local community groups, and that's what we're demonstrating in the middle there. We've got a North South and Central Locality Empowerment Group, which are very community-led groups. These give community members the opportunity to come together and think about their ideas for how we can improve and take forward some of these LOIP projects. And those conversations are very much linked with our themed groups. And even within our North, South and Central locality, we have priority neighbourhood partnerships that are open to people living in those priority neighbourhood areas. But I'm conscious that I'm probably talking through some of the content that Jade is going to go on to, so stop talking about that. But just very finally, just to close the loop there, we do have a community empowerment group that is looking at how we can improve that ongoing building relationships with communities. So I'm now just going to pass over to Jade.
Thanks, Michelle. My name's Jade Leydon. I'm a Community Development Officer with Aberdeen City Council. I have a city-wide remit, but historically have worked within the south of the city with a focus on Tory as their priority area. So I'm just going to go into a bit of detail about the locality plans, locality empowerment groups, and how community groups can get involved in those if they wish to. Okay, if we can go on to the next slide. So, as Michelle has explained, the LOIP was refreshed on the 7th of July this year. The LOIP is complemented and underpinned by 3 locality plans for North, South and Central. The locality plans were approved in July and also describe the partnership's asset-based approach to working with communities to draw on their skills, knowledge, experience, and the ideas of the communities in tackling the priority issues that have been identified. Through the locality plans, our communities have said what's important to them and what their priorities are for improvement. There is a link between the aspirations of communities to the improvement aims within the LOIP, and these connections are detailed in the Community Planning Aberdeen Improvement Programme, as well as the locality plans. So for those of you familiar with locality planning already, the North, South and Central plans have replaced the locality plans, and locality partnerships are now named Priority Neighbourhood Partnerships. The locality plans now cover the whole of the North, the whole of the South and the whole of the Central within their respective plans, including the priority neighbourhoods. Next slide, please. So the locality empowerment groups, often called the LEGs or shortened to the LEGs, have been established in each of the 3 localities, North, South and Central, and they will support the development and delivery of the locality plans in each of the 3 localities. As we've said, these plans underpin the citywide LOIP as well as individual partner strategies, such as the Aberdeen Health and Social Care Partnerships Strategic Plan. The LEGs are always available for participation, and it's open to anyone who has an interest in supporting the development of the locality plan in their area. Okay, and so we also have priority neighbourhood partnerships. Priority neighbourhood partnerships, as mentioned previously, were called locality partnerships, and these continue to ensure that North, South and Central locality plans include a targeted and specific plan for Aberdeen's current priority neighbourhoods. They will complement the LEGs by taking a lead in tackling the issues unique to their neighbourhood, which contributes to improvement across the wider locality. And there are 3 priority neighbourhood partnerships within the city. So there's Tory, and there's Northfield, and that covers wider Northfield, so Northfield, Maastricht, Middlefield, Heatheryfold and Cummings Park. And then there's also one for Tilly, Woodside and Seaton. And again, these are available for anyone to participate in, although it's a bit more of a structured participation within the priority neighbourhood partnerships. So you would be attending the partnership as a representative and going consistently to the meetings. Whereas with the LEGs, whilst we hope that the involvement is consistent, you can come and go depending on the kind of areas of the projects or the plans that you're looking at that interest you. Okay, so we've spoken some about the makeup of the LOIP and the locality plan. So now we want to talk a bit about what you can do as a member of your community if you wish to. So as you know, there are 75 improvement projects to be carried forward within the LOIP. And for each of these projects, there's a project team. the lead for which is often a staff member or one of the member organisations within Community Planning Aberdeen or a local organisation. We realised that with so many projects and staff working on them, there was a risk that the local voice could be lost. And we want to make sure that the changes being made are going to result in real improvement for the people living in our communities. Local people were invited to participate throughout the planning and development of the locality plans. And from this, we have a number of community ideas linked to the improvement projects. In order to ensure the development of the projects and the ideas within them are linked back to the community, we are looking for community connectors. So community connectors can be anybody. They can be local people that are well connected to the area, a community council member. They might be someone that understands really well the local needs and opportunities within that community. They could be part of or participate in a community organisation in the area. They could be associated with a public body, so they could be a teacher, or they could just have a particular interest in one of the priorities within that plan. And you do not need to be you do not need to participate, in a locality partnership or a priority neighbourhood partnership or a local outcome improvement group, a locality empowerment group to be a community connector. You can be anyone, so you don't need to attend those meetings in order to be a community connector. So if we go on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So what will being a community connector involve? So the responsibility for the project still lies with the project lead. So there's no obligation to take on a lot of work. You can simply come along and share the knowledge, or if you want to, you can take on tasks and test a change if you would like to, if you've got a theory of how we can further the interests of the project. And there is training available within the council to help you test some changes, and we would be able to provide you with access to that. So just to kind of reiterate, you can choose to get as involved as you like in something that interests you, and the role is very, very flexible. So just to kind of recap a little bit on what you'll see when you look at the locality plans. This is an extract from the South Locality Plan, and the area in green here is highlighting the project lead. So within the plans, it might not have a named person, but by the time we're maybe looking for some involvement, there might be a named person associated with the project, and that person would be the person that would support you if you did choose to become a community connector. The box in orange here, these are the ideas that the South groups provided for community ideas during the development phase of the locality plans. So these are in no way set in stone. These can be kind of developed by the community. If you've got a particular idea about a food pantry or it's slightly different from that, that's totally fine as well. These are just some of the ideas that came up that the community might like to test within the South, within this area of the plan. And then finally, the area that I've highlighted here in yellow, these are the groups identified that might be interested in becoming a community connector during the development phase of the locality plan. But this does not mean it needs to be them. This is simply people or organisations that came up in conversation during the development. So please don't think if the box is already full that the role of community connector has been taken. There can be more than one community connector for each project. If you have an interest, we'd really encourage that you get in touch with us so that we can put named people in those boxes. And then finally, so what support will I receive? So you will receive project support from your project lead throughout. So if you did choose to become a community connector, we would make sure that you were connected with the appropriate project lead, and then they would be the one that's supporting you throughout your time as a community connector. There is a suite of training available on the model for improvement. We've put a little link to the model for improvement just so you get a bit more information on YouTube if you'd like to have a look at that at a later time. The model for improvement is a quality improvement framework. It's been adopted by Community Planning Aberdeen as a chosen methodology to drive improvement across the community planning partnership. The framework allows you to develop, test and implement changes that lead to improvement. So as I've mentioned, there is a suite of training on the model for improvement available, but in addition to that, we're also in the middle of developing a training session specifically to look at how to test changes. So looking at the PDSA cycle, that is available to anyone that would like to access it. And how could you find out about opportunities to become a community connector? So they're always presented at the locality empowerment groups and the priority neighbourhood partnership meetings, but equally updates are shared through the locality planning mailing list frequently. So if you are interested, you can email localityplanning@aberdeencity.gov.uk and become part of that mailing list so that you can have access to regular updates. And finally, if you would like some more information generally, there are a number of ways that you can do so. So if you can visit us at communityplanningaberdeen.org.uk or follow our social media pages, or again, use our emails to inquire about how you can get involved, or if you want to become part of the mailing list. And finally, if you would like to join the Community Empowerment Network, you can click the link on this slide and you'll be taken there to get some more information. And that takes us to the end of the session today. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with us at localityplanning@aberdeencity.gov.uk, or you can email either Michelle or myself, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.